Alright guys, thank you for coming to this video. I've been getting a lot of questions on how to color epoxy and what you use to do different things and why would you use this and why would you use that. So today I'm going to show you all the different ways to color epoxy and kind of talk about the different uses. So there's three main epoxy colorants, I guess you should say, like things that will color your epoxy. So we have dyes, we have pigment paste, and we have mica powders. Those are just the most common things people use. Those three things are really gonna give you the most and best looking color in your epoxy. If you use acrylic paint, it's just not gonna be as pigmented. It will make your epoxy like stringy and kind of thicken up weird. Spray paint is really cool when you're doing countertops to do different cool effects and stuff, but to color your epoxy, it just doesn't do the same. So let's start with the pigment paste. So this is what you're gonna use when you want like a full coverage, just pure color. So I'm just gonna take, these are about ½ ounce each in these little medicine cups. I use these little medicine cups and these little stir sticks all the time. I'll link everything down below if I can. If you guys are interested in getting any of these things that I'm using. So with pigment paste, if you want to do like a countertop and you're wanting like this white marble, you would use a white pigment paste. It's going to give you the most like white, pure color that you want without seeing underneath. So first I'm just gonna add a teeny tiny bit. And all the stuff that I'm using, pretty much all the stuff that I'm using is from DIY. Some things are just things I'm testing out that they'll soon be getting. But like for white, if I want like a more translucent white, let's say like in my trays or coasters or something. So I literally like dip my little stick in the white and like you can see there's barely any on there. So in this amount, you can just stir that in. And it gives you more of that like cloudy white look. So that's kind of what I like to do for like trays or coasters or anything where I want the white to kind of be more blown out and not just a solid color. But if I want a solid color, you would add more than that. So let's just take some more, probably like that amount. So now you can see that is a solid white. You can't see the color of the stick underneath there. So that's what you want to use when you're just wanting pure solid color. So I also have these molds. These are just soap molds that I use for testing, like kind of little testers for epoxy. They're not like the flattest on the bottom, but I'm just gonna use these and then you can see once they're pulled out of the mold what they look like too. So then I'll show you also the black pigment paste. So just basically scraping it all off, like hardly even getting any of it. You can see how much pigment these have. These pigment pastes are basically pure pigment. So that's why they're so, like, you touch them and it just gets everywhere. Like look how black that is for the tiny amount that I did. So this was also, I like doing that for like doing artwork and stuff where I want it more translucent, but if you want it just pure black, you just add a little more. So then you have your pure black epoxy. But yeah, like I was saying, these get really messy. So if you guys use these, just make sure you keep that in mind. Like if you touch them, if it gets on the side of the lid and you touch it, like just make sure to like be aware of that because it gets all over, it gets on your clothes and it stains. It just gets everywhere. It just does. So I'll show you one more pigment paste. This is the turquoise one, which is really pretty. I really love it, that color there. So these are just gonna be a flat color. There's no shimmer in it. There's nothing really like giving it dimension or anything. It's just color. So the next thing for doing coloring is dyes. This one's black, this one's blue. This is the DIY Epoxy True Dye. So dyes are going to give you a little more translucent color color, and a lot of people like using dyes for like river tables or like anything with like a really thick, deep pour of epoxy where you want like kind of a see-through, really cool look. So I'm just gonna do 1 drop of the black dye. It's very, 1 drop is very potent. So let me just add a tiny bit of this to the next one so you guys can see more, like if you're adding a drop to like a bigger amount, kind of what it would do. So it kind of gives it that like cool gray look, and you can just keep adding more or less. Let's add a little more. And I like to use dyes too for trays and stuff when I want a more translucent look. I kind of just mix everything. There's like no wrong way to do things. It's just kind of what you feel like doing. So I'm gonna do the same thing with the blue. The blue is a really pretty color. So that you can kind of see through a little bit still, but I'm gonna do the same thing. So it gives it just that kind of like stained glass look where it's see-through, but you can still see the color and it just looks pretty. So then my favorite thing to use is mica powders because they're just really pretty and they add so much like dimension. So the mica powder is basically just what powdered makeup is made out of, like eyeshadows, any bronzer or like face powder is mica, but they also combine it with different like oils and different things to make it like lay down different and stay on your skin. And then you also have opalescent. This is the green one. So these just look like a white powder, but then when you put them, I'll do it on the glove so you can see. When you put them with different colors, see how it's like shining green and like just looks really cool, especially on black. The chameleon and opalescent colors just really pop on black. This is the gold one. So they just have that really pretty like iridescent shine. And then this is opal, which I use all the time too. It's just more of like a white pearly color. So then here I have some chameleon colors that I've been testing out and I really like them. So this one is kind of like orangey, like orange, green, and yellow, and maybe like a little peach. They look so cool. These chameleon ones are like, they're like an in-between glitter and a mica. Like they're a little bit more chunky than the really fine micas. This one's really pretty too. What is this? This one's like pink and green. So those ones just look really cool, and they're gonna look completely different every single time if you're combining them with different colors on top of different colors. So they're just really fun. So let's do cobalt blue. And then, I mean, it depends on how much you add to how much, like what look you want. So if you just do a little bit, it's gonna give you a little bit of color and be more translucent, but you can get, oh, I just broke it. So I don't know how well the camera is picking it up, but like you can see all these like really pretty swirls in there because it just adds like these really pretty shimmery swirls, which I love using in like when I'm doing anything, just to give it depth and dimension. It just looks so cool. I love this color. So then we'll do gunmetal. Let's do the gold translucent. Okay, now we'll do the gold. So with mica powders, anything that is more metallic, like any gold, rose gold, copper, silver, they're gonna look more like melted metal, like a molten metal. And they're so pretty to use and stuff. The gold, at least this gold, kind of floats to the top of a lot of things and just gives you this really pretty look, but it's not gonna have that same like shimmery swirl effect as the other micas because it is more like the molten metal. So just that there. Now let's do the green. Now I'll show you this purple mica. I really love this one. It's one I've been testing out. And it's really pretty. So now I'll do some of this chameleon one. I'll just dump some in there. Oh, and I also wanted to show, so glitter's not going to color your epoxy, it's just going to be glitter in the epoxy. You're just gonna see the glitter as it is. And if you use less, it'll just kind of be spread out through it. If you use more, it'll be like a full coverage glitter. But because it doesn't really like color the epoxy, it's just, it looks how it is. This is the Rainbow Stars glitter. It's like a silver holographic and it's a really fine cut. It's really pretty. But you can throw glitter into countertops, like just a little bit, and add a little bit of a sparkle, especially when it's the really fine cut like this. It makes it really, really pretty. But you can see there, it's just like just looks the same basically. So then just kind of show you what you can do with combining colors. So this is just the blue colorant. It's more of like a darker blue. So I'm just gonna add just a tiny bit of the colorant. But then I'm also gonna add some pearl. And you can see how that just like changed that color and added that shimmer to it. So then if I want it darker, sometimes I'll take just like a tiny bit of dye. This is the black dye, just doing, oh, I guess 2 drops. So then you have really, really dark, but it still has that kind of shimmer. And then if you add the blue, so you can just mix and match and make your own color. So now we have like this really cool, almost midnight blue with like a shimmer in there. So then once these are dry, I will show you them unmolded and you can kind of see what they look like in the epoxy once it's cured. And I will see you guys then. Okay, so now it is the next day. So I'm gonna unmold these and kind of show you guys how they look once they're out of the mold. And because they're so thin, they're still like bendy. They will harden all the way, but epoxy is really weird. You'd think that if it was thinner, it would harden faster, but the thinner it is, it takes longer actually. So this is the pure black. You can see that we cannot see through it at all, even though it is so thin. Here is the pure white with pigment paste. So just having such a thin thing, you can't see through it at all. Here's the aqua, or turquoise, sorry, turquoise pigment paste. So this one is the blue dye, and then this one is the more pigmented blue dye. You can see through both of them, but there's just one's more blue, one's less blue, but it kind of gives that like stained glass look. That looks really cool. So here is the black dye. So this one, it's really hard to tell, but if you hold up the light, you can see through it. Like I can see my fingers through it, even though it is a lot darker. So that's why this is different than the pigment paste, because this is just solid color, and the dye, you can still get that like see-through look, even though it looks pure black. And then this is the one that was just less dye in it. So now we're doing the micas. So this is the cobalt blue mica, and hopefully you guys can see that like cool shimmer in there that just gives you different dimensions and stuff. They just add so much to stuff. I love using micas. Here's the gunmetal. You can probably for sure see that. Here's the gold. So see how on this side it kind of just looks like brown, like it doesn't look that special, but this side you can see the floating like shininess. So anytime you apply heat to the gold, it's gonna like float to the top and give you some really cool, it just looks amazing. I love it. Here's that purple one, which I didn't use that much. I probably should have done more, but it still looks pretty. So you can have that like see-through look, but it's not like the same see-through, even though these look close in like how much you can see through them. But like this one you can see through way clear. This one's not, because you have those little shimmer, little like specks of shimmer in there because of the mica. So then this is the gold opalescent. Here's the green opalescent. Or no, this is the pearl. Should I do the green or the pearl? I can't tell. I don't think I put enough in there. I think it is the green. Like the gold, you could see that it's gold. This one's just harder to see. I think I should have put more in there. And then here is that chameleon, which you can see the sparkle. It's way more sparkly than these ones. So these chameleon ones, like I was saying, is like in between a glitter and a mica. They're just like not as fine as a lot of micas, so you do have that like glitter reflection, which these are so cool to add to like geodes and have like a little layer of this, because it doesn't look like glitter, it just looks like a really pretty sparkle like that. Then we have the rainbow stars glitter, which I could have added more to that too, but just a silver holographic, really fine cut glitter. Of course it's pretty. And then this is my like custom color that I made using the blue pigment paste, pearl mica powder, and the cobalt blue mica powder, and then black dye as well. So you can just kind of mix and match and make your own stuff, but I hope this kind of helps just you guys know the difference of different colorants and like how to use what. And I'd say if you're just starting out and you're not sure what to use, I would say go with micas because they're easier. Pigment paste is very, very messy, so unless you're doing countertop, if you're doing a countertop and you want a full coverage color, definitely get pigment paste. But for like art and molds and stuff like that, I'd say start with micas and then see from there. But micas will always give you that really pretty, just kind of shimmer and like dimension in there, whereas the pigment paste are just going to look more flat in artwork and stuff. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions, leave them down below and I would love to answer anything for you. And I guess that's it for this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.